The Last of Us finally showed some well-deserved love to the tale of Bill and Frank. And guys, I'm ecstatic about it. These characters aren't even the main ones, but they're taking over the fans' hearts. So what's the big deal? Well, in the game, their story felt incomplete.
Inside the house now.
In episode 3 of the HBO show, they've included a lot more backstory, and I'm here to tell you the real reason behind the change in the story. Episode 3 marked the most prominent deviation from the game. It gave us the story I never knew I needed.
I'm really hungry. Haven't eaten in 2 days.
Spoiler alert, I sure did. The Last of Us fans of the game have had very few complaints. One of the most frequent ones was the lack of background for Bill and Frank. At the time, they were deemed as partners. It was never specified what kind of partners they were. I mean, I get why. Back in 2013, LGBTQ+ wasn't an openly accepted idea. But now that it is, the creators have spoiled us all with an unexpected episode.
If I feed you, then every bum you talk to about it is gonna show up here looking for a free lunch. And this is not an Arby's.
That served as a standalone installment for them, serving us with the most heart-wrenching and achingly romantic story. Executive producer Neil Druckmann explained why they chose to tell a story of two lovers who find each other in a hopeless situation. You see, in a show based on an apocalypse, it isn't always pretty, needless to say. There's despair, fear, hopelessness, and more. I mean, the amount of times Joel has to punch someone is insane. His body count is off the charts, the killing kind at least. So while most of the story gives a constant reminder of loss and what Joel could lose.
All right? You come on. You come on. I know, baby. No, I know.
They decided to show what one could stand to win. How in the world do they know that all of us are suckers for a good bloody romance story? Pun intended. And what's even better is the fact that now fans know they can expect to see more than just Joel and Ellie. All of us get to see an entirely new perspective unfold, and I'm sure this isn't the only new story in store for the fans. Druckmann continued that in doing just that, they were able to show the timeline of Bill and Frank's life together. Now let's be for real, the show is meant to be dark. It's filled with fungus-looking monsters and enough blood to fill an ocean. So to see what Mason described as a happy ending was just refreshing. It wasn't the kind of happiness you'd expect though, which makes it all the more interesting. In the show, Bill takes Frank in, and the two fall head over heels. They finally confirmed that they both were in fact romantic partners, as the game implied. It starts with Frank falling in one of Bill's traps. Bill obviously freaks out when he sees humans, much like me, but once he figures that Frank is not infected, he chooses to help him after years of isolation. After a while, Bill turns out to be a softie and takes care of Frank. And well, after a soft first kiss, they both embark on a 20-year-long journey together. I mean, here we have two people who meet by chance and end up being soulmates. In a world where you can't find your next meal, Bill and Frank found each other. I don't know about y'all, but that's enough to make a grown man cry.
I can't.
But even in a perfect world, they wouldn't be able to survive forever. Most of the episode shows how a normal life would have looked like in that reality. It's almost like they're lost in each other enough to forget the dystopian world, the banter and petty fights, the surprise strawberries and jogging together. They're honestly the definition of OTP. But after all those years, Frank falls sick, not from an infection, but makes a decision to unalive himself. He mentions this to Bill, asking for a deadly cocktail of pills and wine.
Then you will crush all of these up, put them in my wine. I will drink it.
They both have one last good day where they even get married, and then they both drink the wine and retire to bed where they pass on. In a world of gruesome death, witnessing a peaceful one made this the best episode yet. I'm sure Romeo and Juliet are curling up in their graves, because this is the new tragic romantic suicide that I love. The success of the Long Time episode shows a very intriguing pattern of the show. Embracing the televised medium, fans can expect to see flashbacks and details that wouldn't make sense in the game.
Bill, I found this in there and I figured you should have it.
So far, we've seen the TV interview warning about the threat of cordyceps.
Cordyceps, aspergillus, any one of them could become capable of burrowing into our brains and taking control, not of millions of us.
Or a mycologist realizing the severity of the outbreak. Taking on a new perspective is helping us understand more than before. The episode shows that even in a rough, horror-like reality, it's possible to find love and live a good life.
Paying attention to things. It's how we show love.
Now, is The Last of Us doing a better job than my therapist right now? Because it seems like Bill did a number on Joel as well. At the end of the episode, Joel and Ellie find a note when they reach Bill and Frank's home in Lincoln. It's after they both have died. Bill motivates Joel in a way that becomes crucial to the way the show will unfold. The letter confirms their death to Joel, explaining that the bedroom might not be the best place to go. And then Bill opens up to him, stating that he hated the world and was happy when everyone died.
Because you're probably the only person who will understand. I used to hate the world, and I was happy when everyone died.
Every introvert's dream, but he was wrong, because he wanted to save one person who deserved it, and that was Frank. Bill chose to protect him and die with him. He then writes that he's leaving all the weapons and equipment for Joel to use and to keep Tess safe. He's already fulfilled his purpose of keeping Frank safe, and had no reason to go on anymore. It's sad but extremely beautiful in its own way. They had bitter and hostile feeling towards each other in the game, so the episode showed us how they wrote their own ending. Most of us fans know that this storyline is new, and boy am I glad that they chose to stray away from the storyline of the game. Don't get me wrong, the game is legendary, but this is exactly what was missing. I mean, I never even saw who Frank was in the game. He was just a body hanging from above.
What, you know this guy or something?
Frank, he was my partner.
What happens in the game is that Joel and Ellie want to get a truck. They're as tired of physical activities as I am, so Joel's answer is to go visit Bill because of the favor he owed him. They reach Lincoln and go through a maze of traps and bombs to find a grumpy old Bill who cusses enough to make your ears black. Bill only mentions Frank as a partner who stole some of his stuff and went to the other side of town. In their adventure to find a stolen car battery, they find Frank hanging from the ceiling. He was infected and decided against turning into a fungus head walking corpse. Frank leaves a pretty harsh note to Bill. I mean, he literally implies that being infected is better than spending another day with Bill. Ouch. In the end, Bill just helps the main characters and gives them what they need. And like my ex, he's never to be seen again. Even in the sequel, Bill isn't seen, although fans assume that he's still alive, holed up in his town. So bless the creators for fulfilling our fantasy of knowing more about Bill. Who knew that he had such a soft spot after his sour appearance on the show? I can't wait for the next episode, but when it comes, I'll be right here venting to you guys about it again. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.